Faramir, Ilionos, Odalathan, Stonehammer, and Sorikonia. If you notice that Black Spire is not on that list, that has to do with a war that occurred at Davia Hold, which I'll cover at the end, but that an invasion that happened and caused a big upset. Black Spire was trying to aid Ryrie at the time and kind of protect them from Dagdioth, and in the process, they used a lot of the resources in that direction, and they were being attacked from behind by dwarves, and then ended up having to change their resources in a different direction and protect themselves from many different foes. That ended up in a very bloody, protracted war that killed thousands, and they have kind of a disillusionment with Black Spire in general, and that they're not going to be part of this group. They don't trust it at this point, and kind of there's also a change in the Orcish culture, which you'll see has an effect on this as well. So the reformation of the Orcish culture. So there's a civil war within the Orcs that was really narrowly averted, and this impacts this whole change, and also why they're not in the United Alliance. So Orcs have been rising up against Uruk-hai a lot, and they've sort of stopped viewing them as their leaders, and now they view them more as their overlords. There's this division between the two that's become wider, and Orcs should now also be played as smarter than before. They seem to have realized that they're not as dumb as they've been told they are, and so most should still start out as dense if you're just journeymen, but this is mostly due to inexperience. So when they get to be rank 1, they should be played more like low intelligence, and then when they get to be rank 2, they should be average intelligence, and then some, as they get beyond that, get to this above average intelligence play style, and that's most of the shamans that reach that level of intelligence, but it's usually also only if they are not really trying to use that intelligence. So if you're playing an orc that's rank 3 or so, and you also might be a shaman in that case, then you should play with this sort of insight that you can have when you're not really trying to figure something out, or in the game the character isn't necessarily trying to figure the thing out, but then just something comes to them kind of intuitively is the idea. Uruk-hai have had the opposite effect, so they should now begin at low intelligence when they're journeymen, and they don't reach average until they're rank 1. And so there's a lot of fighting between these two groups, and also just sort of like rebellions and that sort of thing, which you'll see some of in the upcoming year. So some Dagdioth upheaval. So Dagdioth had many breaks and minor uprisings over the time jump. So they now have many factions and groups working independently towards their own goals, and they have their own generals. There's many groups, there's the Legions of Kagall, the Crusaders of the Agantine, the Triple Templar. There's the Order of the Purple Lotus. You'll hear more about them. But there's the Shegoth Priests and the Bone Marks. All of these groups have different goals that are kind of all specific. But what it points out more is that there's a lot of fracturing of Dagdioth's aims, and a less unified Dagdioth than we've seen in, I think, a long time. All these little groups are considered themselves sort of independent, and they don't operate as one unit, so you might run into little pieces of them and have to interact with different ones in different ways. The one that you'd be most familiar with would be the Legions of Kagall. They're loyal to Kagall only. They fight for his aims and goals no matter what they are. He's seen as a god, and not Dagdioth necessarily. So they don't necessarily worship Dagdioth first. They worship Kagall first. He is the main god, and that's such a kind of a shift too in terms of how their beliefs work. The Crusaders of the Agantine worship these numerous Agantine wraiths, some of like 30 of them or something now, and they follow them around and believe that they're becoming the wraith is the highest honor, and usually they're all humans. They don't follow Kagall, but they do worship Dagdioth, and they believe that their quest is to become the one true Agantine wraith. They always appear with an Agantine wraith, so there's more things about that, but you can learn more about that when you encounter them or deal with them. They have some special abilities too. They have Crusaders who have this like warded Agantine kind of fear effect they can do, but mostly they seem to be a real offshoot from Dagdioth and operate all over the place in different with different aims that seem much more focused on this sort of working to understand their wraith and which is understood to be a haunt of some kind. The Triple Templar are a new group of elite fighters that are from Dagdioth. They're usually rank 2 or higher. Use magical items a lot. They worship the three, Crucepto, Damian, and Sorrowvale. And they don't follow Dagdioth as much, but they support his goals. They're attempting to bring back the demons from their imprisonment inside the Sisters, is how they see that. And that's a very interesting development. The Order of the Purple Lotus is a group of elite assassins that's emerged. They have infiltrated lots of different groups. They've been known for a long time in Dagdioth, but they haven't been as active, and now they seem to be very active. They're very hard to track. Usually you can't detect their abilities. They can turn their abilities on or off. There's some details on how to play them if you want to look at the details later, but that's a new a group that seems to be infiltrating all around. They're also infiltrating other Dagdioth groups, so they're not necessarily working just for Dagdioth's aims. They might also working against each other. The Shegoth priests are loyal only to Shegoth, and the Lady of Dagdioth is who they call her. She's seen as the embodiment of Dagdamar in this plane, and the controller of magic. So all magic must move through her, or it needs to be destroyed, is how they see it. So they're particularly skilled at killing mages, and they all have have like a shrouded dispel magic that they use that kills the caster of the spell that they dispel. The units are usually have Elder Sorcerers that can use any OP of Elder Sorcery, and these usually just have to stay with the Elder Sorcery of Shegoth before they cast a spell. This group seems to be kind of a splinter group of the Talon, and it seems to be like that's where the Talon was towards this kind of new group. The Bone Marks are the last group that's pretty strong in Dagdioth right now. The Bone Marks are a group that views undead as a viable force for Dagdioth and is attempting to bring them back to power. So they have some Dark-Guarded Sky Knights that have returned to the fray. They sort of function more like the old Dagdioth troops from a long time ago, with a skeleton and a specter and a war troll and an ogre and that kind of thing. These troops tend to see the old ways of Dagdioth as the way to be. They're sort of want to return to the old ancestral ways of Dagdamar and do away with all this newer stuff, and so there's people flocking to their goals. And that is very fractured Dagdioth, and so when you encounter Dagdioth in different areas, and when you see maps which to show you where Dagdioth controls, keep in mind that that's many different types of Dagdioth in those regions, and not any one of them is going to be specifically just Dagdioth like that. Okay, so last couple things. Dark Wilds is really quiet. I'll go into more about why and details of all that, but basically it seems to be a lot of its energy is being sapped, being drained away to some other plane, they think. It's really quiet and still, almost in a trance all the time, unless it's disturbed. And if it's disturbed, it becomes very violent. So it's that's a development. I'll go into more about why and how that works and all that. Last ones, Davia Hold fell in this really bloody war with the Sizzalath. The war is the reason that Blackspire has not joined the United Alliance of Rokron. Thousands died in this war. The Trolls actually were the deciding factor in the end. They joined Blackspire, became a part of Blackspire. So Troll Sylvania still exists, but it's a tribe within Blackspire now. And they took over Davia Hold. It was given to them as kind of a war prize. The warden ended up not necessarily being killed, but having to be driven out, and he was recalled to Stonehammer and been sent back to a Stonehammer hold, and then also has been fighting up in the front lines of the Sodlin War, as that's what Stonehammer wants him to do. That puts him in kind of a bind, but we won't go into that too much. Level of magic. Level of magic is OP4 again. The Fae have experienced the die-off That's kind of a new development. It's really, really recent. They're recovering, but most will be young. Like a lot of the older Fae didn't seem to manage that really well. They didn't necessarily die, but they're not around. And so anyone who is a Fae should pull for a death. Tenmur is very strong and expanding. They seem to be focusing on finding there's a trade order, and so they should be played more true neutral and less evil, except when discussing anything that's not the Wizard Trade Order, like other nations. Okay, play locations. So I know people wanted to know this stuff. So so far this is the plans. Some things might be tweaked or changed, but basically this is the guideline. Wednesday League is in Glimmendale. That's Desnor. That's the city that pumps out magical items. If you look at the map, you'll see why Glimmendale is the place that people will need to be at. Helios will be the same, or at least in a very, very nearby area, since they have similar player bases. For Thursday League, we're going to be in Pinnacle. That's in Hostor. I think everybody knows where Pinnacle is. But Reach is also using the same location as that due to their goals. That's their stated goals they wanted to do. For Club League, this is a special. It's not going to be a particular location. They're gonna be quest based. They're gonna be all over. So day one though starts in the Dark Wilds, and then Character League is gonna be in Hawkhaven. That's a mirror. So it's kind of the top part of the mirror. And if you look at the map, you'll also see probably why that would be the place. And then Adult League is also a special. They have a specific goal they picked, and they're quest based. But day one would be starting in Emir Ford. That's where they initially start their quests from. Okay, I think that's about it. Wish I could have done the full, fleshed out version with all the flavor and uninteresting details that are really important to this story. But I did not have the time on this time frame. But I'm trying to get this out earlier than usual. So hopefully I will have that done by next week, and then you can bite into the deep parts of the plot. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.